Look at that. Nice. Michael, he
Here we
made you look good
go.
in that picture.
Here we go. Here we go. This is it. All right. I'm sharing the right thing, I think, and we can start. LinkedIn, we are on here. Let's get this party started right. I got my countdown clock going so we can see that. We got our folks here. Steven's going to kick us off with some banter here, some lovely banter to get you all started. Remember, we want you liking and sharing and shouting out your city and state as you're jumping on the live program with us. Make sure we got your questions around community. Do you have questions about building your community, about networking? What is community building versus networking? We want your questions. We want your comments. Steve, launch us into the topic today as people are jumping on here and letting us know where they're tuning in from.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you think about, I think Robert and I may have spoken about this. Robert's off camera right now, but Robert spoke about, where I think, with networking, it's almost like there could be this bad association where when you're networking, it's almost like an ugly version of dating almost, right? Where it's just got this, people have a sour taste in their mouth. Whereas building community is really much different, right? Where you're creating relationships, you're really connecting with people, you're adding value, and you're looking to, help people and not just get a new number, a new name, or sell something, right? So I think that the essence of this topic, which we came up with, I think it's very good. It's very relevant. I think we're going to have a really good time, speaking about it. And all you folks are hand selected. Some of you folks a little last minute, but we appreciate it. But it's going to be great. And I think what's great about the group we have here is you guys all come from very different perspectives, different demographics, age groups, experience levels, skill sets. It's phenomenal. And that's great. And one of the things that we like about the show is we're not looking for cookie cutter answers. We don't mind if there's other opinions, if everyone has different opinions. That's okay, right? We're not looking for a bunch of yes people, right? People that are just agreeing with everybody. Certainly we like, when there's, not people talking against each other, and we don't want any kind of animosity, but we've never seen that. But we certainly want to have different versions, different angles of opinion here. So feel free to share, your thoughts. Don't hold back, and it's going to be a blast of a conversation. So for sure, yeah. If you are obviously, hopefully you shared this with your network. We're going to have, technically it's only about another 8 minutes of banter. So if you haven't had a chance, go take that link and share it out to your community. Tell them you're live. It's not always easy to find. LinkedIn is still, I'm hoping, working on making it a lot more user friendly. Mike and I were speaking about this, that not the super most intuitive thing. Logic doesn't always prevail with LinkedIn. So the more you could broadcast the link and get it out, even though you would think if anyone's connected to me, the live should show up right away, but that doesn't happen all the time, right? So it's crazy, but so get it out to blast it out to your group, to your community, right? We talked about. The other thing is, if you want to have your phone or another window open, which is fine because you can kind of see what's going on and you'll be able to chat easier that way with the audience. Just keep your phone or device on silent so you're not getting the reverb. We want to make sure the broadcast is as clean as possible. So just a couple of tips there.
Steve, I'm going to get some people fired up here. I want people to connect with you, connect with our folks that are on the panel today. Shout out to Sean Lashley with the digital cards. We appreciate you. Want to say that we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to shout out your city or state. Let us know where you're viewing from. Share this out. We want you active and participating in the chat. This show is so much better when you participate and ask questions and comment. We love you for it. I want to shout out to Miss Diane Light Spiro, who's in the chat, checking in.
Mama
Poughkeepsie, Mama Spiro. We had folks like Ann Small commenting on the post early on, Fanny Dunnigan, who we love, Annie Lieb, We got folks that are checking in. Please let us know where you're checking in from. What's your city and state? Are you trying to build community right now? How can we help you do that? This show is all about providing value. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. You add value to this show as well. So we really want your input. Back to you, Steve.
I appreciate that, Cameron. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. We definitely want to have a lot of your questions, right? So what makes the show is when the viewers are participating, giving their perspective, giving their questions. We really like that. Also, we're big believers in storytelling. So hopefully, I'm hoping that some of our panelists have some fun stories to share because one way is teaching through just knowledge, but I find it way more effective when you can teach through stories. So hopefully we'll hear some fun stories today. But definitely, yeah, tell us where you're from. We definitely want to make sure that we're acknowledging you, and of course share. The viewers, please feel free to share now. Share the link out to your network, and we're gonna have a great time today for sure. So the panelists are ready. They're foaming at the bit. Can't wait to share with their knowledge and experience and teach us on how they're building community versus just networking, right? So it's going to be amazing.
I'm excited to hear from folks. I want to hear what Michael and Robert and Coach Pete and Tim Colson, are you guys fired up for today? Are you excited about the topic? Talk to us here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. This is one of my favorite things to produce in people is a sense of community. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I'm really fired up too. I think that to Pete's point, I think there's nothing better than community. And when you can make it less transactional, it becomes more of like a supportive group of people around you. I just think it's so awesome. So I'm really fired up.
I'm also fired up because as a networker, the whole objective of networking is to create a community, and that's what we want to share with everybody.
Love it. I love the tone. Tim too. That I'm really fired up.
Yeah.
He's a laid back guy. Listen, everybody, if you're on here, we want to hear from you. Get into those comments. I know I got about 10 plus people watching. We want this shared out to more folks. We want more people engaging and in the contacts. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We're really excited to hear from you. When you get fired up and you get into the comments, you fire us up. We're really excited to provide service. That is what we are about. Steve Spiro, I was watching his Fired Up Friday on LinkedIn, and he was talking about the power of positive energy. So we are here, and we definitely feed off of your energy. So when you throw things into the comments and questions, the comments, we get really fired up. We got 12 people. I know you guys are sharing this out. Continue to do so. We're excited to serve you. Steve, talk to us about the Fired Up Friday, the power of positive thinking and energy here.
Well, I appreciate that. I just want to mention one thing, and I'll tell you about that. So anyone who is actually, one of our sponsors is Sean Lashley, 10,000 cards. So if you, the viewer that has the most folks that come on the show because you invited them, you're going to get a free digital card from 10,000 cards. So make sure to go ahead and grab some people and have them come on the show. But to answer the question, yeah, I love being able to share and contribute and adding value. I think all the folks on this call, on this panel as well. But me, I'm in the middle of reading a book. I've read a few times Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking, but I found through Audible Napoleon Hill, and the name is escaping me. I think it might be Rick is his last name. Created another book called The Keys to Positive Attitude, I believe it is. I'm butchering it, but it's great. And people are attracted to positive. They negative repels. And so we're about, what the essence of this show is. And, Cameron has a heart to help people, is a heart for the youth. And I've got a heart to help people and help people that are in a dark place, whether it be through challenges like I had growing up, being shy, introverted, picked on and bullied, and being able to get out of that dark place, or people because of COVID and because of, some of the things that they've been challenged with, loss of family or friends or loss of job or income. now we have a place, we want to be the light. We want to help inspire people and be a positive life force. So,
Steve, I wanted to shout out a few of the folks that are commenting. Elizabeth King.
Liz King.
I know another Liz King in Westchester as well, so it's exciting. I'm sure she knows probably maybe of her as well. So Elizabeth King, nice to see you. Elvira, Ellie checking in. We appreciate you from New Jersey. Paula Lucas from NYC. And Andy Phillips checking in here from sunny Croton, New York. Seriously eager to hear about this topic. As a fundraiser and a biz dev guy, creating a sense of belonging is critical. We've been hearing from folks. Mom Spiro in the house. We're going to get into the show. Appreciate everyone being here with us. Here we go. I'm going to share another piece of my screen here as we get into this. See if I can make this happen. All my technical wizardry.
Yeah, Cameron is known to be the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain here. So
sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's harder. Here we go.
Fire up your Friday.
Fired up Friday.
No audio, Cam.
Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
All right, here we go.
For the next hour of this Master Connector.
All right, one more time. The magic of live shows. Here we go. Hit the share audio button. There we go. Let's see if I can make the screen share actually work. And I think we're going to be good. And the magic. All right.
Fire up your
No auto, and you got the like, share, and shout out right over it too.
Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.
Nice job with the video, sir.
Hopefully, you heard some of the audio.
That's good enough.
Andy said he's heard it, so I'm appreciative of Andy. Even everybody's a critic. Steve likes to criticize me. It's okay. It's all in fun here. It's all good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really excited about today's show. Andy, thanks for checking in. Kenneth Dunner checking in. I'm going to go around and introduce all of our folks here. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. We're going to go to Steve Spiro here and do his introduction. Steve, here we go. Steve Spiro is a martial arts black belt and a master network. Here he has moved from being a shy, introverted kid to the master connector he is today. Steve Spiro is a certified customer communications consultant with Quadient, where he consults and mentors companies to help them find more efficient ways to work with their customers. Steve Spiro believes in the power of mentorship, growing oneself through self-development, and continuing to create meaningful connections through building a large network. Welcome to the stage, the master connector himself, Steve Spiro.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, I'm going to go over to Michael Papadoro. So, and I just murdered your last name, I believe. Paterano, I think is what I meant to say. My core purpose is to elevate humanity through knowledge and understanding, he says. The connected consultant. He will work with you directly to help in business or personal life become more connected in every way. To book a call, ask for his calendar link and see where it fits. Everybody here on the show is deeply excited to connect with you if you're watching. Through his deep vulnerability, he'll inspire others to be the best selves while he's on his journey to do the same for himself. I'm going to just ask all my panelists to mute yourself while others are speaking, just so we don't have the background noise. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Michael Paterano. You can say hi, Mike. You have that ability.
Well, I remuted myself when you unmuted me.
Yeah, no,
hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move over to Mr. Robert Butwen, a master networker in his own right. Robert Butwen grew up in a family of successful business people and self-made millionaires. Early in his business life, he made a crucial decision to leave behind all the country club smart ways of his business upbringing and pursue the more personally satisfying, financially secure profession of network marketing. He entered the network marketing field on a part-time basis 35 years ago. After recognizing his potential and learning the ropes, he became a full-time network marketer. He is a psychologically unemployable. He is psychologically unemployable and has not worked a job since September 7th, 1990. Robert's successful career has earned him the respect and admiration of colleagues. Throughout the profession, he has been associated with several MLM firms and each time became one of their top income earners. A true example of somebody that networks and builds community. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Robert Butwen. Robert, I'm going to have you ask you to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and this is going to be just a phenomenal panel.
All right, I'm going to head over to Coach Pete. Pete Carpaccio is a destiny coach who helps individuals and organizations clarify their life purpose and design practical plans for results. He has an ongoing passion for developing individuals and high-performance teams so they can find true fulfillment in their work and achieve success by operating in their sweet spot. His more than 130 clients will tell you that he quickly cuts through the confusion with a combination of encouragement and keen observation. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Pete Carpaccio.
Hey, I am glad to be with you.
Excellent. We're going to head over to my main man, Timothy Colson in the house. Here we go. I got to hit the button. There we go. Mr. Timothy Colson is the founder of the Tri-State Legacy Group, a full-service and independent insurance brokerage that services clients in 9 states. He's also a private client financial advisor with Quint Wealth Management, an independent RIA. Timothy is devout in his faith and has a strong love for his wife, family, and his 5 boys, Jude, Quinn, Chase, Jackson, and Clayton. He's an avid New York Rangers fan and former hockey player, youth coach. More recently, Timothy has started Colson Capital, which is a firm devoted to providing sound business coaching and development services to entrepreneurs and local businesses. He is also active in his community and sits on the local boards of directors in the Business Council of Greater Montgomery, a great example of somebody who also networks and builds community. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Timothy Colson.
I'm really happy to be here, and I could feel it in my soul. What Robert said about being psychologically unemployable. I love that. Thank you guys.
Oh, man. So we're going to get into the topic. We're going to jump right into it today. And we want to talk about what does building community mean to you? Steve, start us off. And then just a reminder to all my expert panelists, just use that private chat in the background to call next. Mr. Steve Spiro, start us off. What does community building mean to you?
Absolutely. Well, so, I mean, for those who know me or don't know me, I am a big believer in connecting. I'm a big believer in adding value. And I think the old-fashioned networking model, I think is gone. I think, if it was up to me, it would be gone, right? We really need to build community. And so even though I've got probably somewhere around 12,000 LinkedIn connections, to me, that's part of my community. Cameron and I think Timothy as well belong to a group called Master Networks, but to me, that's a part of my community, right? And it's not just, adding new names, new numbers, new connections, but it's about, how can you add value to each other, right? What can you do for each other? And not who can you sell or, and I think it's crazy though, when I get a new connection through LinkedIn and I reach out, I think it's crazy how many people say, some people say yes, but to a call. But so many people just say, no, thanks. I'm like, why are you on here then? Why do you want to be in my network if you don't want to connect with me, right? So to me, building a community is really when you get to connect with each other. So hopefully that resonates for you guys. I know it resonates for me. So, but I'm anxious to hear what everyone else has to say as well. But thanks for your opportunity, Cameron. You're the best. You're on mute. 2020 theme song.
Woo! Woohoo! Oh man. All right. That's the first time. We'll see if we get a second time in here. All right. So Annie Lieb is checking in. Philly girl coming at you. Annie Tude. I love it. We're going to head over to Tim, but I just wanted to shout out a few of our community members here. The Chris's are in the house. Get Chris Dutra shouting out Chris Januski. The Chris is in the house. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. We love servicing this community, so we appreciate you. Bruce and Ellie both in the house checking in. Yolanda Chen checking in. We appreciate you. Lori Hirsch Schultz checking in. Thank you so much from Sleepy Hollow, New York. And we had Andy talking about they were hearing it when things going. We appreciate the feedback. Kenneth Dunner checking in. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in you peeps. Thanks so much for that. Aaron Eberhardt from West Shore Associates in Connecticut. We appreciate you. Tim, talk to us about building community.
So when I was asked to come on and I found out what the topic was, I was intrigued by it because immediately my mind jumped to like, what's the big difference between the two? And to me, building a community is relational and networking is just transactional. And I know that might, like on the surface, I guess it kind of makes sense, but I feel like one of the big things that the pandemic did for me was it forced me to really take stock of the relationships I have in my life, and it put me in a position where I could build communities and things like that. So to Steve's point, I don't know if I ever shared it with Steve, but when he reached out to me and connected and asked me to have a 15-minute introductory phone call where we just like got to know each other, I was so shocked by that because that doesn't happen that often. Like it's so often that I'll get a connection request, I hit accept, and like within 30 seconds I get like a laundry list of things that this person doesn't even know who I am. Like they don't know what I'm doing with my life. They don't know how, like what drives me or anything like that. So I mean, that's the transactional part that, to Steve's point, I wish would go away. And I think that we're getting close to that. I think that networking is becoming more community based, and those old habits are going to be extinct pretty soon. But I'm really excited about this. So
thank you so much. I know Pete wants to jump into the conversation. Pete, talk to us about what does building community mean to you? And then if you're watching this, guys, you're in the comments, we want to know, what does building community mean to you? Because this is not a static conversation. There's no one definition for community. There's lots of different definitions to it. So we want to know, what does community building mean to you? Go ahead, Pete.
So if I was just going to give 2 words for community, it's you belong. Okay, that you belong here. And that's not just what I can get from you, or not just what you can get from me, but we belong to each other. We're part of a group. I like, Seth Godin wrote a great book a number of years ago called Tribes. And like scientifically, the difference is, community isn't just gathering a group of people around my idea or something I want to advance. It's me, if I'm a leader, maybe a servant leader, maybe behind the scenes leader, what I'm trying to do is also give you an opportunity to connect with each other. And I was just reflecting back on this topic, and like I'm part of a coaches community. I'm in several of them, but the one that's my absolute favorite is I've reached out on individual connections to other people within the group. They've made themselves really available. I do the same thing. And we're like this beehive outside of our monthly meetings. We're just doing all these one-on-one conversations as well. And then when we come back together, we all know that we belong to this community. So those, I love that phrase, you belong here.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. I think that adds a ton of value. I know Robert wants to jump in. I just wanted to shout out Bruce, who said, having empathy for the other person and willing to share each other's knowledge to help each other. That's what's building community for him. Robert, go ahead.
First of all, I take a look at the fact that I network to build community. Now, when you're networking, there's a lot of people that are networking wrong. Those are the people that are focused on transactional. You're networking, and to me, I don't care where you're networking. I don't care if it's on Clubhouse, your event, Cameron, or whatever event, but the objective of networking is to meet somebody online, get them offline, so you get a chance to really get a understanding of who they are. And based on who they are will determine which community I might connect them with. because I'm connected to multiple different kinds of communities. But again, the key to networking is understanding, not to try to pitch them. In fact, I do it the opposite way. Whenever I am networking and I finally get that one-on-one conversation, my first question is, how can I be of value? How can I be of service to you? Because again, the best way to increase the know, like, and trust with other people is sharing something, some way that will enhance or accelerate their success. And based on where they're at determines, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm involved with multiple different communities. So I'm pretty complete on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's so funny being on Clubhouse. We have this, kind of piece of talking, and you go, my name is Cameron Toth, and I'm done talking. And sometimes I feel like we need that in our normal conversations in life. Like you're having a conversation with your children or with your spouse, or even in something like this. I'm Cameron Toth, and I'm done speaking. Right, just to wrap it out. Is the point done? Right, you get into these funny things that go on. Tim knows what I'm talking about because I see him on Clubhouse with me all the time. I know that Michael's going to jump in here, and Steve wanted to add a little bit in, but I also want to throw our second question in here, which is, what's your take on the difference between community and network? So if you're watching today, we want to know what you think the difference is there. We still want to know what you think building a community is. So we want to hear your comments there, but what's your take on the difference between community and network? So we'll set that up as the next question. I know, Michael, you wanted to talk to this question of, building community, and feel free to talk about the difference as we move into this next question here. Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, everybody. For me, okay, so when I look at this, right, like networking is outreach. Networking is almost like going fishing, right? It's like finding the people that match for whatever you're looking for and what piece and what puzzle you're working on. Community is more of a family belonging, trying to create a situation to where everybody can work together in a cohesive group, right? And you be able to organize things and put all those pieces in play. For me, I don't talk about either. I talk about just connecting people, right? Being connected and connecting people. Because for me, like, it's purely intuitive. And when I'm on a first call, introductory call, second call, whatever it is, I'm literally making introductions to other people at the exact same time. Because I already start seeing the synergies and the pieces and all the different places that it could work out. And I already make those nudges and pushing it towards that direction. When it comes to networking, yeah, I mean, I go fishing, but I do it in a different way also. I, again, rely on my intuitive nature and basically what the person's talking about, what they're doing. And these days, it's more about sitting back and letting people find me. I mean, I do a lot of live shows. I have shows all over the place. And I want to know why people are coming to me, and then I can help fill those gaps. For me, the connecting is about impact. I want to make impact.
Michael, I just want to ask you a follow-up question here, because this is something that I think is challenging, and it speaks to Tim's point where he was talking about a lot of times the connections are coming across, but what's coming out of that is, you're pitching something at me. I'll ask people sometimes, hey, how did you find me? How did you, what inspired you to connect with me? And sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. So what's the way that you go about finding that out?
I just schedule a call. I don't ask questions. I just schedule a call. If you're willing to get on, if you're willing to get on a call, I'll figure it all out on the phone. You give me 20 minutes with anybody, I'll know their true intention. So I'm not worried about it. Like, I just, again, with me, it's purely intuitive based. So I go with my gut feeling. I go with my intuitive nature and just run from there. So I don't rely on what they say, what they talk about. Actions are louder than words.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'd love to hear from our other panelists what you do to actually follow up and create that. What's this connection all about? I know Steve has some methodology, probably similar to Mike's in terms of just let's get on a phone call. Who wants to jump in? Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. So when I have a group of people on a group Zoom call or whatever, I've found this is a turbocharge tip to build community faster than anything I've seen is the power of story. Okay. And if you can get people to share their stories, like Lori popped in on the chat and talked about vulnerability. And this doesn't have to be bare your whole soul, but giving people opportunity to share their story that's where everybody connects. Like, oh yeah, I can identify with that, or maybe they can't identify it, but like, that's really cool. I just learned something about a human aspect of it. It's through story. And then what I found as a facilitator is, some of us more outgoing types, we've got stories right at the tip of our fingers, but some people need a little bit of help. And, we've all heard the term icebreakers, and we just kind of view that as sometimes in a meeting, it's just like a tactical way to just kind of warm things up. There actually can be really powerful. And if you can just craft well-placed icebreakers, first of all, there's neuroscience that proves folks that are more introverted, if they hear their own voice, if their ears hear their own voice talk within the first 5 minutes of a call, they are way more likely to talk later on in the call as well, because they don't feel other and like they're a spectator. So that's one way I try to build up community. And then this icebergs that are well placed to, and by the way, start out, especially if you're going to meet with these people more than once, maybe it's even, hey, if you're on a work team, right? If you're not independent, say there's a group of people in your job that you're going to meet with on a regular basis, you want to build community there too, right? Just because it's work doesn't mean you can't make it community. But if you can gradually over your meeting schedules, get more and more personal in the icebreakers, it's great. Like in the beginning, hey, what's your favorite movie? Where are you from? Things like that. But then how many siblings do you have? Where's your birth order? Right? It's a little more personal. You never want to ask what's your biggest fear? That's too much. But just those kinds of questions. I just did this yesterday. I had a group, an international group, and I just asked the question, what is your full name? And does any one of your names have a meaning, or was there a story about how it came about? It was amazing. There's one guy from Africa, my grandfather.
We gotta try this out, Coach. So just as you're finishing this up, let's
Sure.
ask people, what is your full name? If it's not fully represented on LinkedIn, if it is, does your name have a special meaning? To the folks in the chat as some icebreaker. We got 18 plus people watching right now. I know a lot of people have gotten into the comments. If you haven't jumped into the comments, we encourage you to do that. We want to know where you're tuning in. So, that's one of the things that we do to sort of get the conversation started. Should be easy for people to say where they're viewing from. So tell us your city, state, country. We've had people watching from all over the world. So that's always interesting to us, hearing where people are checking in from. And just before you jump back in, Pete, I wanted to shout out to Paula, who said, if they aren't part of the hospitality industry. So she's assuming if they're a part of the hospitality industry, she knows why they're touching base with her. But if they're outside the industry, she asks. And then we had Lori, who was saying before, I believe networking and community building is really about developing relationships. And like the best relationships, they reflect generosity, trust, and even vulnerability. By vulnerability, I mean a willingness to acknowledge you need and then ask for help. We have Kenneth talking about today's conversation. Oh, damn, scrumptiously, deliciously, edibly tasty good to me, Jen. So we're excited, Kenneth, as well as you are. Alan's checking in with his location, Ardsley, New York. Bruce, community also means we are better as a group than by being by ourselves. When someone is in need, we help build the barn because someday it may be you that needs help. And we had stories. I love Rick Gabrielli's about helping somebody else. They may save your life kind of thing. He has a great story around that. Sugarland, Texas is in the house, just southwest of Houston, USA, baby. So guys, if your name has a special meaning, that's something else we'd love to hear about in the chat. I want to just say this in terms of community and network, the way I sort of look at it, just to throw it out there in terms of what I see as the differences, for me, community is the people that I've sort of said, hey, you're somebody that I dig. I feel like you're a contributor, you're a giver, and I want to give to you. Versus my network, there's just people out there that haven't really either they haven't wanted to become a part of my community, because it's not like I throw people out. But I haven't found out that there's somebody that's a giver yet. And so they're in the network, but they aren't necessarily people that I'm thinking about and wanting to build more community with inside. So for example, I'm on a call with somebody, and they're talking about something they're passionate about, and I want to connect them to somebody else, that other person, they're in my community, right? Because I think about them in a way where I want to invite them and provide connections to people that I'm talking with and that are part of my community. Folks that are in my network, they're not really on my mind like that. So that's one way that I sort of describe it. Pete, talk to us about what you were doing and kind of some of the insights that you got.
Well, it was just really cool. Like, we had this guy who's originally from China, and he's telling us, hey, last name's given like 2 syllables in his first name. He had no choice. His parents have no choice over it. It gets handed down through his family, and they only get to add 1 more syllable. I thought that was really cool. Another guy from Africa, his grandfather names him. And if you translate it, it's like this sentence, like, this child is a gift from God with abundant wisdom. We're like, what? So we have this really limited view sometimes in Western culture of names. And then other people just sharing, how did they get their name, or what does it mean? And it lets you learn more about people's background and story in a deeper level. And it's easy, right? Icebreakers are easy.
I loved it. And Chris added Christopher Michael, named after St. Christopher and my dad's best friend, Mike. So that's his. I know, Steve, you wanted to jump in. Lori says, this is great, Pete. I always prepare prompts for programs I facilitate, and so interesting. This idea to have introverts speak encourages them to speak later on. Great tip. And Alan chimes in, a community is a social unit, a group of living things with commonalities such as norms, religions, values, customs, or identity. Thanks for looking that up on Wikipedia for us, Mr. Alan Greenwald. All right, Steve, jump in here.
Absolutely. So first, I want to mention a little bit about the whole name thing. So, a lot of times with the last name Spiro, people say, hey, are you Greek, right? So if I'm talking to a Greek person, I say, it's interesting, right? So, the translation for the best translation for the name Spiro, the closest Americanized name is Steve. So technically my name is Steve, so that always gets a laugh out of it. So
I love it.
But anyway,
that's what it's going to be from now on. Steve. Everybody in the comments, yeah. It's Steve from now on. There we go.
But anyway, now I just wanted to mention, a little bit about, so we're I think one of the things about community, and I think what, I love about this platform, LinkedIn, about networking, the way we're doing it now virtually, is it allowed us to get through this pandemic, I think, a lot better, right? Because we feel like we're part of community. Now, granted, it's not the same as, being around people physically, but it gave us a connection, and it gave us something to feel like we're around others. So I think it's been a great, Steve Squared, right? Coach put in the comments, it's funny. But so that was my take, and it's funny. I'm curious what everybody else on the topic of follow up and I can think of a recent interaction I had with someone who I'm connected with, and of course I sent my message, and the answer back was, about my message about connecting. My message back was, no thanks, not interested. Okay, so strike one. So then I happened to send him a link to the show, and you know what he said back? Like I said, I'm not interested. So you know what I did? I didn't respond, but I unconnected with him. I unfollowed with him. He's done. He's out of my community. He's done. Normally I'm not going to be that dramatic, but if you don't want to connect, you don't want to do anything. Why are you in my community? You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm curious if anyone has any other takes on, if somebody is kind of not being very polite, are they still in your network? Are they still in your community? I'm curious about others on that.
Yeah, we're going to go over to Robert. I just want to highlight Chris Dutra's comment. My community are the people that support me 100% and me, them, and that I fully trust and respect, right? So that idea that, you're talking about is you get somebody that isn't being super positive. They're just shutting down something that's not even a hard request, right? It's sort of it's an idea or a sense of what their attitude is, what their positivity level is. And, Steve's answer you just saw was like, well, I'm going to cut that weak link out of there. And I think for us on social media, because Steve's comment brought to me, like, some of these people that are on social media, they might be on Instagram or Twitter or something, but they have a private account. Well, first of all, there's nothing that you're going to put on the internet that's going to be 100% private. So first of all, if you have that idea, I'm going to just make you aware that once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. Somebody can find it, right? And then the other piece of that is, if you're on social media, the whole point is to be social. So why are you, suckering? And I know there's people out there, that use private accounts as a strategy. I don't want to get an argument or something around that. But the idea that if you're trying to promote yourself, you're trying to be social, you're trying to build community, private group or something that might make more sense, but accounts and just being private and not negative, probably not the best way to build a network or a community. Go ahead, Mr. Robert Butwen.
Super. I take a look at it in a way, a community is sort of like my funnel. What I mean is the fact when I'm networking, it's to get people into upper part of the funnel. My personal community are people I'm actually mentoring and working with. Now I'm part of other communities. For example, Cameron, I've been coming to your event for a long time, the ones that you do every Tuesday, and I look at the fact that I'm part of that community. I'm going right after this call is done today. I'm part of another community called the Grand Connection, where I feel that I'm really part of it. So we're sometimes part of different communities, but the key in networking that I've learned is I start asking questions, sort of like Pete talked about. I want to, as quickly as possible, and again, I always start off by trying to figure out who the other person is that I'm speaking with and how I can demonstrate how I can be of value to them. But I want to know, where are they, what's going on in their life, where they want to go, and really how committed they are of taking whatever they're doing to the next level. So we're all doing sort of a fact finding, because you want to connect, you want to find some commonality, and you want to figure out how I can serve them, if nothing else, by introducing them to a networking group or guiding them to something in relationship to what they're doing that will help them. So the more that you can find out about them, you're going to attract the right people into your community. And I'm complete.
I love it. Robert Butwen, and I'm done talking, right? Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Steve. I know you wanted to jump in, and the rest of my panelists, make sure, let me know one way or another through the chat, or even throw in your hand up if you want to jump in. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so I think the other way that you're at, you're not just networking, but you're adding value in community is to choose just that, is to add value, right? And so some of the things that I try to do when I finish one of my networking calls is I want to add value by maybe inviting them to something, right? Maybe it's inviting them to a networking meeting that I'm going to, or maybe inviting them to the show, and not for selfish reasons, right? Or maybe it's an introduction, or maybe it's a book, but always adding value and always trying to do something with them again, right? Relationship is not built from one conversation, right? Relationship is going to be built through multiple conversations, right? You don't get to know somebody just one time, you get to know them over time. So I always want to try to book something else if I can, where at least they're going to be in my life. And I don't know, that could be a variety of ways, right? But in many times what I'll do is I'll actually put a calendar reminder for myself to reach out to that person in 6 months or 2 months or a year or whatever, just so that there's still another touch, because again, these are people, right? They're not just numbers. So I just wanted to share that. I'm done.
I love that. And, we have comments like, Amanda, who I just gave her the link for the StreamYard.com/Facebook to allow her face to show up on here. So anybody, if you're ever posting on there, you just got to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and that'll allow your face to show up. But Amanda was commenting, most people who ask to connect or sending those emails via bot are trying to sell something. So I don't know exactly who's reaching out to Amanda, but I think to Steve's point, right, there's people that know how to, sort of do the connection thing. There's people that lack education on it. There's people that are doing a lot of copy and paste. And to their defense, I do a lot of copy and paste. I may be doing it a little bit more sophisticated, folks, but the idea of being able to grow a large network, we've talked about that before on the show, being able to, give yourself permission to hit the connect button without even sending a personalized message. Sometimes I do that. And so it goes both ways, right? Just because somebody's reaching out to you, we've also talked about responding back to that, maybe that pushy sales message with a little bit of empathy and saying, hey, I'd love to help you, even though this isn't the ideal message, right? Maybe that's some way to find somebody that's going to be really awesome in your community. So being empathetic and giving everybody a chance is a nice thing. Not to say that everyone deserves a chance, but it's one of those things that as we're all on the path to the higher road, we can try to take. Go ahead, Tim. I know you want to jump in.
No, I was just going to second, I guess, in line with what Steve said and what everybody's saying, really. I mean, the experience that I had probably about a week ago, I had 2 people reach out to me, and like in my industry, it's almost like a recruiting nightmare, right? Like there's just like financial people are trying to recruit people left and right all day long. I had 2 people reach out to me, and they hit the connect button, but they also sent a personalized message with it. So I took time to read the message. The one gentleman said that I see that you worked with Edward Jones. Now I've never worked for Edward Jones in my life. So right off the bat, that's like you're starting at a negative for me. But I wrote back. I was like, did you actually look at my profile, or did you see that like I was connected with others from Edward Jones? Like, so I threw some questions back at them. And then the other person was, they asked me if I kept my options open to secondary careers. And I'm like, I'm in your industry. Like this, I've been doing this for 8 years. So like, that's like, I feel like that has almost made people numb in a sense to situations like when Steve reaches out and says, hey, I'd love to connect with you for 15 minutes to learn about you. Everybody's on the defense because I think we're so used to in like the virtual community to just having people try to like get something that they gain from. So yeah. But
Chris is saying, Timothy goes, I had something very similar this week. I think it's one of those things, like if you're going to reach out and ask somebody to do something for something, you're going to influence somebody. If you're not listening, right? And so listening can happen a lot of ways. I can have a conversation and I can listen with you, or I can look at your profile and I can read and listen to what you've put out, right? But it's pretty obvious, I think, when we're in these conversations online, it's pretty obvious when somebody hasn't paid attention or isn't listening. It's one thing to put out a pretty generic, and I'll openly say this, like when I reach out to somebody, if I see something interesting, I'm not writing a paragraph, right? And so I want to dig into the comments here. We have some really interesting comments and some long ones, but I want to highlight. So Lori says, what Steve describes is not right, but I think that on LinkedIn over the past year, there's been such an uptick in unsolicited pushy requests with the sole purpose of selling you something that people get defensive, just what Tim was saying, right? And then Lori also says, sorry, I haven't hit the right button here. Steve, if you have 11,000 plus LinkedIn connections, which I looked at it today, Steve, I think you got 12,000 LinkedIn connections. How do you find time to facilitate these meaningful giving connections? How to do authentically, effectively, realistically? So it'd be great to just kind of go around, Steve, obviously this question is to you, but to go around the room here and sort of see how people handle serving their communities, creating the communities, and keeping up with it at all as you grow your networks.
Do you want to start there, Cameron?
Yeah, please, Steve.
Okay, sure. So
I can run my mouth all day. You got to just step in. This is your show.
Absolutely. So well, you're the mighty Oz, so you're behind the curtain there, So Lori, good to meet you virtually. Hopefully, we'll connect sometime soon, and you'll see. More about what I do, and other folks that have followed the show or know me know a little bit of this. So it may be redundant to you folks, but I'll keep preaching it from the top of the hill till everyone hears it. But basically, it's just number one, everybody that I connect with, everyone. Did I say everyone? Everyone gets a message that I want to have a phone call with them or a Zoom call with them. Everyone. To me, it's like I don't discriminate. I don't think, okay, someone's worthy, someone's not. I take a call. I think Michael said that too. No, and does everyone respond? No. And what would it be like if everyone did? I don't know, but I'm not at that place yet, right? So number one, that. Number two, when you know, on LinkedIn you have the, you know, happy anniversary, happy work anniversary, you know, congrats on your job change or promotion. I send the message, and when I get a response back, I suggest, hey, let's catch up on a phone call. So those are some things that I'm doing tactically. When people post, I like, I comment, I mention, I tag, right? Not everybody, but when I see something that's of value, I will do that. Now, the other thing that I do, I believe is important, is I'm putting out content, right? And so this is one example of how I have chosen to connect with my community. Every Friday, as Cameron said, I do a Fired Up Friday video where I'm connecting with my audience, and I'm hoping that they comment or like, and that is another prompt for me to reach out to that person. When somebody views my profile, I started this recently. I send a message. This is a little hack for you guys. I send a message, and I yes, it's a copy paste, but it's hey, I got a notice, which is true. I got a notice that you viewed my profile. I'm just curious if there's anything I could add value for, or something to that effect. That's not the exact words, but along the lines of it, right? What can I do to add value? I saw you on my page, right? So I'm constantly trying to engage my audience, and it's on them, not on me, if they're not connecting back. So that's my take on it. You're on mute, sir.
Oh, so frustrating. All right. Chris Dutra says, everyone. You reach out to everyone.
Everyone.
Very cool. All right. So I say, you know, and I've learned from you on this, I think, and certainly my feeling is with network, the idea that everyone potentially has something to bring to the table. Everyone potentially has some value. And so, you know, operating from that perspective is a lot better than the negative sphere of, oh, maybe somebody doesn't have any value. Everybody has something to offer. Your story really is amazing. Robert Butwen's talked about my networking group, and power of that, I think, is, you know, and people will say after, you know, they finish, oh man, you got such amazing people here. And me and Robert met in the Happy Neighborhood Project. He was mentioning that they have a big event today with networking. You know, I don't think that there's any more, you know, better people in master networks or BNI, or it's just, what does the place you're in, what do they do to foster that connection and that ability for you guys to actually see and listen and hear each other. And so by doing that, it feels like, oh, wow, these are amazing people because the story is actually being heard, right? I know Robert wanted to jump in. Coach Pete wanted to jump in. Guys, raise your hand. Tell me if you're ready to go. All right, Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead, Pete, and then
yeah.
Robert.
So, hey, I can't just call my network collectively a community if I'm not helping them meet each other or connect with each other. That's what makes community. It's common unity, right? Community. And so Steve talked about content. Like, you can build community around your content, not just pushing it out. Invite people in, not only to comment, maybe make it live, but get people to buy in and say, hey, well, what do you think about this? And try to find people with common interests, and be the person that they look to, where they can meet other interesting people, other people who share their values, other people who are heading in the same direction. That's how you can be a networker, or like an important pivot point, somebody who can start a direction, start a movement, start a community, be that linchpin that Seth Godin talks about.
Thank you so much. That is awesome. Robert, you're up.
Super. Yeah. You know, each one of us has different strategies, methodologies. I don't look at my LinkedIn network as a community. It's a place for me to meet people. And let me sort of regress. Back before I got married about 35 years ago, 40 years ago, I used to run a nightclub. And I ended up running a nightclub because I'd go to the club and I'd survey going into different places and see if there was the crowd that I wanted, sort of like in these networking groups. Each one's got its own vibe, so to speak. But as far as LinkedIn, and let me talk a little bit more in depth about it, because I've got 29,965 connections there. Now, I don't even try to connect with anybody anymore. This was all before COVID. I started off what I would like to say ignorance on fire. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just took a look at people that have got a lot of connections. But my whole strategy is meet them online, get them offline, so that I can get a better chance to understand who they are and how I can be of service. Again, I'll talk to anybody, but when I'm when people reach out and connect with me, I might send them a copy and paste something like, it's always great to make a new connection on LinkedIn. Let's explore the possibility of collaborating and see how we might be of service to one another. Something similar to that. But again, my whole objective is I want to know who they are and figure out how I can be of value to them and see where that connection is going to go one way or the other. And you're on mute.
Go. We'll see if we can go for 4 times today. That was the 3rd time. All right, here we go. So how are you building community? If you're listening and you're watching today, how are you building community? You're hearing how some of the panelists are. You heard Steve. He absolutely connects with everyone. I try to send my calendar link to everybody to get a time set up. One of the things I think I'd asked in previous weeks, Steve, how do you manage the time thing of setting up that phone call with everybody? Because it's got to be daunting. How do you figure that out? Do you have set times in your day? How do you manage the time piece of getting those phone calls set up so that it's easy for you to actually get scheduled on your calendar?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I'd say, just like you, I use Calendly now, and I blocked out, Calendly is great because it allows you to block out certain time frames. So for me, I haven't read the book yet, but there's a great book called Never Eat Alone. And I have a lot of my networking meetings at lunch. So, sometimes I'll actually, do you mind if I eat my sandwich while we're talking? But lunchtime is a good time. I just block out, little pieces of time. And I just fit it into my life. Right. And it works.
I love that. And because you do such a great job of connecting with people, I feel like immediately after you connect with them. And I think there's something to be said for that because, the connection over time, you sort of can forget. And I know that's one of the challenges with my system of it where, they get on the calendar thing. So there's certain people that I'll try to, if there's a business opportunity or something where there's something consistent, but I'll often sort of, that'll be part of my ask is like, hey, if there's something urgent, here's my phone number, call me anytime. Cause I have time set up that I can definitely take phone calls or return phone calls in my day. But otherwise it's too much for me. June is open. Otherwise, the rest of this stuff is booked up. And it was interesting as I was on the phone with somebody today, they expressed to me that they made this time more of a priority because they knew that it was as booked in advance. So for folks that are sort of looking at it as a negative, I don't want to send people off. There's a lot of positives to that system. And it speaks to the fact that there's not just one way to do it. Michael, I know you wanted to jump in. Go ahead.
Cameron, can I just real quick?
Oh, please.
Jump in. I apologize, but I just want to talk. And Pete just put a shout out in the private chat. Calendly is a game changer. One thing about Calendly I just want to mention is, and I think you mentioned it, Cameron, that you're not sure about the context, but you could put a question in Calendly. So like, how do we meet, or where, what's the context of this call? And so that'll help each of us, both parties, to remember. But interestingly enough, it's funny, so occasionally when somebody connect with me and they agree to a phone call, they send me their link. And I'm not being egotistical. I'm not being like all that. I'm not being lazy, but I ask them, would you mind if we use my link? And occasionally I get a question like why, and, but here's why. Number one, and then Michael, one of the connections I think Michael connected with, he wants to do an hour call. I haven't been able to fit an hour call in my schedule. It's just too much. But I have a half-hour block. I've had people that put out 15 minutes. To me, that's too short. And so when you get these Calendly links, and then I also get Calendly links where it says like the company name. And so when I get it on my calendar, it says Steve Spiro and the Phoenix Group. Like, who is the Phoenix Group? Like my Calendly link has my name and their name. So both of us have it on our calendar. So I've had it specified. So I think it's perfect for everybody. And everyone else's links are, Calendly link, I don't like them. So that's why I like to use my Calendly link, because I feel everything is well thought out and it's exactly right. So that's for anyone who's listening and you wonder why I say my Calendly link, that's why.
I've gone around with that as well. I've had that challenge with it as well, because I definitely agree. I'd love to hear what people say in the comments. Is 15 minutes enough time? And I know one thing that we'll probably hear, and please note if you agree with this. Some people will say, well, I'll schedule it for 15, but I actually have a little bit more time, but I have the option of saying after that 15 minutes, it's a wrap, right? So just, sort of controlling my calendar. So I'd love to see what people are doing there. But I've also had the calendaring things where they're scheduling 45 minutes, an hour. And I'm like, that's too much time. I don't want to devote an hour to this. And then the other thing, which I think people have heard me talk about, I stack my things a half an hour at a time. So I introduce one person to the next during my slots, which I think is a benefit to the people that I'm meeting with. One, for them, they get to meet somebody else and maybe potentially add somebody else into their network because I'll connect them after line. For me, I control my time because it is a firm cutoff. I got another person to meet with. And so it allows me to be very intentional and structured with my networking. Michael, I know you've been chomping at the bit and me and Steve can't stop talking. I'm so sorry. Jump in here, please.
No, and look, I'm different than most people. I'm different than most people, right? Like, I handle things much differently. I do everything in hour conversations. It's just how I do things. My Calendly link is everywhere. People want to, they don't want to talk for an hour. That's fine. I mean, if a conversation is going the wrong direction, I have very creative ways to get out of it real quick. My blocks, I block out time for what I need to. I run my 6 companies. I help people build 5 or 6 other ones. I have very prioritize time blocks in my life, but if they're open on my calendar, then I can move around other blocks around it. And I'm not looking to connect with everyone. I'm looking to connect with those that I resonate with. I'm very clear about my messaging. I'm very clear about what I put out there on my LinkedIn page. And if it resonates with them, then we're connecting for a reason. As far as when incoming connection requests, again, it's really intuitive based and it depends, right? I mean, sometimes I look at it and there's no point. Sometimes I look at it and I'm not going to accept it, Forex, Bitcoin, any of that junk and, any of these, whatever model types that are magically stationed overseas, I'm not going to go near, right? Like, I mean, I have however many thousands of contacts. I don't even know anymore. And I've been building this network for 14 years. I have government officials. I have C-level execs for almost 70% of the Fortune 1000. I mean, I have a very large built out network and I've spoken to more than half of them on the phone over the last 14 years. And that's my goal. And at some point, the ones that I don't speak to, the ones that won't get on the phone, they're going to get cut out of my network because I'm building real relationships. I'm building real connections and I'm connecting them to other people in my network immediately. There's no hesitation because when I'm trusting my intuition, I just intuitively make that call right away. And I'm already doing introductions before I get even off a call. You're on mute again, Cameron.
Fourth time. All right. I love that you brought up Forex and Bitcoin because whether you're getting those messages on LinkedIn or you're seeing it on Clubhouse or wherever you go, like it's all over the place, right? I see Timothy smiling, right? It's elusive. And I want to go back to a comment. I wanted to kind of wait till we had a good moment to go over it because we've been over it on this show before, but and Paula spoke to it. I know this was brought up in the past on here, but I've had men try to connect to ask me out on all social platforms, but it's been very prominent on LinkedIn lately. We've talked about how it's not appropriate to do that on LinkedIn. It's not the platform. She's had to block several men after politely declining. I'm happy to connect, but not for that purpose, right? And so I don't want to make light of that at all because it's just one of those things that it doesn't show empathy, right? When you're reaching out to somebody that's on a business platform, it's another thing if you're on Tinder. I think maybe it's a little bit more acceptable over there, but certainly not acceptable on LinkedIn. But it speaks to what is your intention? How are you reaching out to people, right? What do you want from somebody? And it's pretty obvious when all you want is cash in the bank, right? When it's completely transactional. And I would say it's rude. I think it's out of line to do the whole, whether male, female, whatever, if you're pushing things. And I would compare it to, I've had people that are on LinkedIn, I've talked about it here on the show before, asking me because they're trying to push their business. So are you stressed? How are you spending your days? What's your nights looking like? Or what are you worried about at night? we even had a first phone call, but you're asking me in the LinkedIn message what I think about at night. It feels a little creepy. It feels a little slimy. It does not feel right. And I'm interested what people think about in the comments in terms of how you deal with that. For me, I just shut it down. I really don't pay attention to it. I've been trying to get a little bit more comfortable on Facebook, even with nasty comments and section with political stuff. Just shut it down, delete it, not even read it, and not worry about it. I'm still working on the not worrying about it, and not letting it suck up brain space. Anyways, Michael, I thought that was particularly great to bring up and allow that opportunity to talk about Paula's issue. I really want to talk about how you guys are building community. I wasn't clear about who had next. Robert, I don't know if you wanted to jump in or somebody else.
Well, I'm happy. I'm always happy to jump in.
So you and Steve have that in common, and probably me as well. Go ahead, Robert.
I'm building community in two ways: showing up on different platforms, connecting with people as people, and being of value. The key is figuring out how to give without any expectation of anything coming back in return. And that has always worked for me. It's like once you find a methodology that works for you, you just keep doing it over and over again. So that's what's working for me, and I'll just share it with everybody else.
All right, beautiful. I want to shout out some folks in the comments. Angie says we need to learn how to do 15 minutes meaningful. So this is coming at it from a different angle, right? We were talking about 30 minutes before. She's talking about we need to learn how to do 15 minutes meaningful meetings. Cameron's networking group gives us less than 15 minutes to get to know each other, and it's effective. But you need to know how to tell your story. And so my encouragement is always, because we have about like 2 minutes inside those breakouts to tell our story, to set up the follow-up meeting, because I consider it, just like a kind of a connection request on LinkedIn. All right, or read the profile. Now I'm going to follow up, right? But to Angie's point, if we're all about it in terms of really sharing our vulnerable selves, it does allow for a lot of entryways and pathways into us without spending a lot of time. I spend a lot of my time on the networking calls pulling the personal out of people and getting past the pitch. Bruce says 15 to 30 minutes if they find value to speak longer, and I see value, I'll go longer, always even 75 minutes in my schedule to talk. So I'll say, Bruce, boundaries, right? Set up another phone call, but don't let stuff going on, because then you find yourself, at least for me, I find myself in that position of, oh man, I wanted to get more in my day done, and now I haven't gotten it done because I've gone long on this phone call. Timothy, go ahead. Jump in.
So one of the ways that I'm looking to build community is by having conversations that aren't necessarily comfortable, but that they need to be had, and then making them constructive in the sense that value is given to all the parties. So I think that's how I've been building it, and just trying to listen and almost allow other people to have voices and things like that. That's how I've looked to build community. So.
I love it. I want to hear from more folks here. We're going to go around and do our closing statements. We're at the top of the hour. We always get to this point faster than I think we would. It feels so fast. I want to hear from our folks in the comments as we're closing things out, your master tips for building your community. What are you doing? What's been successful in building your community, and how is that different from your larger network? And one of the things that I'll sort of say to sort of close it out for me, whether it's BizDev Live and building the community of the folks that actually pay attention and watch my daily YouTube show at 11 a.m., folks like Robert Person, thank you so much for regularly watching. Bruce and Ellie were in the comments and engaged this morning. Thank you so much for that. But it's acknowledging people. Once they're a part of your vibe, a part of your thing, acknowledging people. And for me, it's inviting. and getting really comfortable with inviting. I think anybody that's been in a leadership position inside of a membership organization, networking organization, they'll talk about the power of inviting people in. And you can see that in what Steve is talking about today with Tim, with Pete, Robert, and Michael. They've all spoken about it in different ways in terms of inviting people to speak. If you're Coach Pete, right? Inviting people for an hour-long conversation. If you're Michael, for Robert, just reaching out to people and being willing to share and inviting them into his world and his knowledge, which he's so good at. And with Steve, just everyone to Chris Dutra's question mark comment, everyone, right? Just inviting them in, and the power of inviting people to be accountability partners, inviting people to be a part of your network, a part of your community, inviting people to be on your team and take responsibility for something. Sometimes we look at it as a negative, right? Oh man, I don't want to invite somebody because they're going to look at it as a negative. Look at the opportunity it is for somebody to be involved with you. Look at the opportunity that it is for somebody to be a part of your organization or a part of the community that you're building. You are awesome. Your story is amazing. You have so much value with your experience that it is impolite of you not to ask, not to invite them to be a part of your thing. So this is me, Cameron Toth. I know I speak for Steve Spiro on this. We are giving you permission to invite people to be a part of your community. If you're providing value, invite them in, because you know, and you should know, that you can deliver something awesome to them. With that said, we're going to go around and what I'd love to get from you is your tips for building a community, your closeout statement, and then how people can get in touch with you. We'll start with Tim, and then we'll go to Coach Pete, and then Robert Butwen, and then Michael, and then we'll close out with the master connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro. Go ahead, Tim.
So my biggest tip for building a community is just to be present and to allow other people to have a voice and be a champion of those people that want to have voices. I think that if you can take your ego out of it, you're going to build a really solid community. And the best way to follow me, obviously, you can connect with me through here on LinkedIn, or you can find me on Instagram. It's at FinCoach_Colson, and that's at FINCOACH_COLSON. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Guys, if you have any links you want to share them in the private chat, and I will share with the community. Go ahead, Coach Pete.
Hey, so my tip on building community: get people together, give them a gracious place for them to share their stories. They'll connect with each other. It'll happen automatically, and it's like turbocharges it. I also have a calendar link. I'll put it in the chat, and love to start conversations with any one of you. Just reach out to me.
Thank you, Coach Pete. We're going to go over to Mr. Robert Butwen.
To me, the key is 3 aspects: asking the right questions, listening with the intent to be of service, and figuring out something that you can give them that will make a difference in their life. It goes back to what Robert Cialdini talks about, law of reciprocity. Give without any expectation coming back, and guess what? It will always come back to you if you authentically give to others. You're on mute again.
5th time. Oh boy, we're going for a record today. All right. So I shared Robert Butwen's email in the comments. I'm going to share Timothy's link tree, and Coach Pete's got his booking time there. Michael, you are up.
Sorry, my 3-year-old is trying to distract me. The 11-year-old's not listening, and the 8-year-old's playing Minecraft. So it's been fun. For me, it's about listening. It's about listening and adding value, right? When I'm listening to somebody, I don't always hear every single word, but what I do catch is exactly where I can add value to whatever they're working on. And the first thing I try to do before even the conversation is over is bring them value and go from there. And I always invite for a second, third call, whatever it is. Most don't take me up on it, but some do, and some do a few months later when they realized a conversation had happened or what came out of the introductions that I made for them. it's about being patient and understanding your own value and what you bring to the table for everyone else that's involved.
Love it. And how can folks find you, Michael?
LinkedIn. Everything's on LinkedIn. I do
and
everything.
I know I dropped that address earlier, and I will again. Mr. Steve Spiro, close this out, sir.
Yeah. So listen, I think everyone said some real good points. The one thing I will say is just lead with your heart, right? If you're leading with an objective of what can I get, you'll never build community. If you lead with your heart of what can I give, and Cameron, I love what you said. I think we share this. Is you got to feel that you always add value. That when you're in the community and your community is with you and you're together, that there's better value because you're here. So lead with your heart. Lead knowing that you add value. Always try to add value, and that is the biggest way that you're going to be able to bring community together and build a community. All right. In terms of me, you guys know I'm a one-trick pony. Pretty much, LinkedIn is it. So find me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. It looks like I got a few connect requests already. Also, I do have a YouTube channel. I'm just growing that. I'm trying to post content on there. Master Connector is my YouTube channel. But definitely would love to connect with each and every one of you. If we haven't connected, let's schedule a call. Let's schedule a phone call or a Zoom call for 30 minutes, and we'll take it from there. But Cameron, as usual, I appreciate you, sir. You are the magic behind the camera, behind the curtain there. So thanks for all that you do, and make sure if you haven't checked out Cameron's YouTube channel, I know he's humble about it, but check it out. Also, his BizDev Live on Tuesdays at 12 noon Eastern time, and he's got his BizDev Live show every day, 5 days a week, Monday, Friday, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tremendous value. I'm sure I have a hunch that some of you panelists are going to be asked to be guests on his show. So appreciate everybody. This has been an incredible show. And again, I think hopefully it's added a lot of value. I know it has for me. You're on mute.
So that's definitely a record. 6 times there. Thank you for that, everybody. We have some great comments from our folks in the runs. Wanted to shout out Angie Legg, who's been doing a 5-part series this month on networking by BizDev Live, and the 4th part, and we have videos posted into it. So I just posted the link up on there for this Tuesday, March 23rd, 12 p.m. Eastern. If you'd like to get on there, if you want to learn a little bit more about telling your story, Angie Legg has been hosting a master series on how to tell your story. We have videos from previous weeks in that event link, so you can go in there, hit that attend button. You'll see those videos, and then come in and actually participate. I look at it as networking training with actual networking involved. So not only do you get to learn how to network better, but you actually get the practice of networking with people, bringing people into your community, into your network. I am so excited to have you here with us. We appreciate you so much. I want to shout out some of our folks that are commenting in. Yolanda, thank you so much. Claudia, who joined us late, couldn't find the link. We are always working on making that link easier to find. We appreciate you. Yolanda says, lead with your heart. Jonas Kane says, lease with your, I think it meant lead with your heart. Maybe I'm wrong there, but really appreciate that. And I want to just shout out our folks. Lori, thanks so much for being here. Angie, thanks so much for being here. Braden Daniels, thank you so much. Alan Greenwald, we appreciate you. This closes it out for us. Everybody, I want you to say wave goodbye as we play out our video here that we played at the top of the hour to start the show, and we will see you in the comments. Everyone like, share, hit that thumbs up, the clappy button, the support button, the heart button, the insightful button, the curious button. We appreciate you. Like, comment, share. We love you in the comments. You make this show more valuable. We will see you soon.
Fire up your Friday.
Fired Up Friday
with Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
I am Steve Spiro, the Master Connector.
Over the next hour of this Master Connection series, we will take a deep dive into the different ways to connect and network effectively.
See us and hear us right now. So LinkedIn, we are on here. We're getting ready.
Hear from experts along with Steve Spiro, who went from being shy and introverted to the Master Connector.